always do. All right, we're going to go over kind of the underwriting process today. So once you've set an appointment, it's going to be really important to kind of know how to underwrite things without your upline's help all of the time. So I'm going to share a few things on my screen with you guys, kind of explain kind of my mindset, how I go through it, and some of the resources that we have. Now, if you're new, use your upline. We always hold your hand. But the ultimate goal, though, is if you always need us, we'll ultimately slow you down, right? So we want to get you kind of trained so you have all of these resources so that you can move quickly. But do not move too quickly. It's a fine line where I'm like, yes, use these resources, but even when you have used them and maybe you have an option and you're still new in this business, it's still good to run it by your upline and like, hey, am I heading in the right direction here? This is what I've got. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is this client qualification form. There's a couple different versions of this out there. The one you get in HQ might look a little different. I'm just going to use this one because it's just a little more detailed for you guys to see. When you're asking the client questions about their health, time is everything with this. And I want to show you just a couple little things that they even put in here. Hey, any medical conditions, high blood pressure, heart attack, sleep apnea, stroke, cancer, diabetes, are you taking a pill or is it insulin? Any other diseases, right? And then we want to know, hey, how old were you when you got diagnosed with diabetes? Or are you on insulin? Any other complications with that? The reason we're asking these questions is we're going, hey, you have diabetes. Is the diabetes causing another health condition? Right? So when you have one health problem that is now cascading and causing another health problem, that's a big deal with the underwriters. Now, this is the biggest one that we run into is neuropathy. Neuropathy is that tingliness of your hands and feet. That means your nerve endings are dying because your diabetes is so bad. And the typical medication for that is gabapentin. But we want to know, hey, do you have any diabetes? Any complications to diabetes? How old were you when you were diabetic? How old were you when you started insulin? Hey, I had a stroke about 2 to 3 years ago. Okay, was it over 2 years ago or was it over 3 years ago? Stop them down, let them think, because if it's over 2 years, we're going to go with one product. If it's over 3 years, we're going to go with a different product. So whenever they say, oh, yes, I have a health problem, it's always good in general to ask, hey, about how old were you? Or about how long ago was it? The more details you can get, the better we can underwrite them. And it gets them thinking about their health conditions a little bit. Because then we're going to go, all right, hey, any other medications that you're taking? How many medications are you taking for high blood pressure? Oh, I've got anxiety. I've got depression. Oh, how many medications are you taking for that? Hey, how old were you when you were diagnosed with that? And the biggest thing on this form right here in the medical conditions is anything else. That's the best question you can ask right here, because they might give you this list of things and then you just go, hey, anything else? And like, oh, well, yeah, I have cancer. Well, why didn't you lead with that, right? But the reason that's why we ask over and over again, because we want to make sure, I've had clients go, well, isn't that enough? They give me this huge long list of things, but we want to know everything. So how long ago was it, right? How old were you? And then, hey, anything else? Those are the three big questions in here. And then don't forget, this is one I just see people miss, is don't forget, hey, what's that monthly mortgage payment? Because we might need that to do our critical period concept. So that's a big one that a lot of new agents miss is, hey, what is that monthly mortgage payment? We don't really need to know the mortgage company on here, but this is a big one, especially if they're older and we're going to have to go to the critical period concept. That's a huge one. But I want you guys to know why these details are so important, because when we go into the underwriting, which I'm going to show you guys here, it's going to ask us a lot of specifics. And the more we can be specific, the better we can underwrite them and get them approved. This is a phenomenal website. If you guys can see this here, sfgquotes.com. This is actually done by an agent in Symmetry. His name is Michael Vigil, and he did this and he lets everybody use it. It is phenomenal. This has so much information in here. everything from just quick little nuggets for each one of the carriers, main carriers that we work with, to really some of the best stuff here is whole life look back guide, final expense health matrix, term look back, build charts, DUI look back. But you can click this, and actually I think I'm gonna have to share this a little bit different so you guys can see everything here. Give me one second. But even if we click this new underwriting cheat sheet, it is phenomenal to kind of pull this up and go and look at the bottom here. We got all these tabs at the bottom for all the different carriers, if you guys could see that. But it has, hey, here's all of American Ample. Here's their phone number, right? But you can kind of look, hey, what is going to be needed in here? Hey, felonies. Let's see, what do they ask about felonies and criminal history and family history, marijuana use, right? Military, occupation, you name it. There's so many things that you can find in SFG quotes that are phenomenal. Man, I mean, AIDS is a tough one, right? Then start digging in. Now you can look for Americo and go, there's their build chart, F&G Forsters. I could do this all day long, but this is a wonderful place to start as well. I love this. You'll get really familiar. Then there's also these things, the Danny Young calls, SFG SoundCloud. I always talk about SoundClouds with symmetry. This gives you boom, it pulls right up. This has got years and years and years worth of SoundClouds in here. Everything from the most recent to some of the older. Oh, this is the way. That was a good one. That was Chris Smith and Michael Matthews. Might want to re-listen to that one. That is a great resource for kind of going, man, all right, where do I even start with this? But it's kind of hard because you're sort of kind of backing in. You're like, man, I don't really know where to go, what to do. Well, that's why we have Virtual Mentor. Everyone signs up for this. And Virtual Mentor is a great place to start, right? This is where you can kind of go in here. You can pick your state. I'm in Texas. The biggest thing we want to put in, height and weight. Let's call them 6 foot. Let's go 50 years old, and let's go 250. I don't ever do optional filters. I want to see everything. I don't want to filter out any options. I want them all. But what I love about what Virtual Mentor does, if you go in here and click cancer, what is it asking me? When was it medically diagnosed, treated, or taken medication for? So I want to know, when was their last diagnosis? When was their last medication? And see, I mean, it's 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. See how specific that time is? That is why we want to know exactly, hey, how long ago was it that you had cancer or that you had a stroke? Let's go into heart and circulatory, right? Their aneurysms, chest pains, AFib, murmurs. The big one that we run into with older people is going to be heart attack, stroke, stent, bypass. 0 to 1, 1 to 2. Those timeframes are so important. But that's why I love people to play around in Virtual Mentor, because this is going to let you know, hey, how specific do I need to be in my questions? And so this is going to give you a place to start. Let's say we did 2 to 3 years on cancer and we just click search. It's going to give us some ideas. These aren't going to be specific. Like for instance, home certainty popped up here. I can tell you right now, home certainty, 2 to 3 years is not going to accept it. And, but I do know, but what you can do is you take this and you go, let me go over here. Let me go into my term lookbacks and let me now cross-reference it a little bit. Does that kind of make sense? Where you can kind of, let's see this. Like, what are the rest of my options? Don't forget this little button here, the very bottom right. Click here to display all available products. It will then open up. You can keep scrolling. I don't know why it doesn't do it automatically, but now you can see more and more and more products that this person would be eligible for. So this gives you a little bit of direction. And then here you can kind of start looking, let me look at my look back guides and see, my client had cancer 3 years ago. Now I start to look into my health matrices. I look into my guides here, and I can go, let me see where I want to go. Now, the other thing, and this is my favorite, is going, man, I love working with American Amicable. So if you're an agent with American Amicable and your client had cancer 2 to 3 years ago, you can't get a hold of your upline, you get lost in SFG carrier quotes, right? You can go into American Amicable, log in as an agent, get your login here, and you can go in here and do this beautiful, beautiful live chat. No other insurance company has this. And you click on this risk assessments. You click on that and you go, hey, I have a 51-year-old female. She's 6 foot, 250 pounds, and she had cancer 3 years ago. What does she qualify for? They're going to tell you in this chat. It is amazing. And then if you hit a stone wall here in the chat, guess what? You go to your upline, you go, hey, I've got a female, she's 6 foot, 250 pounds, had cancer 2 years ago. I chatted with AmAm, they said this. Any other ideas? But at least you've done your research. You've gotten familiar with it. You're not having to depend on your upline as much. These are some huge, huge, huge resources. This being the best because you get to chat with an actual underwriter from the company. No other carrier has this. And then this is, these are the cheat sheets that, and these are things to kind of, these cheat sheets and these things, you guys can go in here and download these and pick up all this stuff, but it's a great way to look into kind of underwriting and figuring out, man, I need to know how to do this. I wanted to show you guys these resources. And a lot of these are scattered throughout HQ. What SFG Quotes does, it just condenses down the main things to look at. And you want to start getting good with IULs. Here's F&G agent resources. Here's quick link to F&G's website. And you're like, ooh, what's Royal Neighbors? I love this. But as we tell everybody, I want you to focus on American Amicable, to be honest with you, and Mutual of Omaha, which ironically, there it is, Mutual of Omaha. Those are the two big ones to kind of run through the filter of, can we go there? And then if not, then you can kind of start playing around with some of these other areas. All of these have your carrier phone numbers in here. It is an immense, immense resource for you guys. But that's simply enough. How I go through the underwriting process is, let me get as much information as I can. Let me run it through the AmAm filter. Let me chat with AmAm, if especially because that's the best. And you're going to the source. And then if you get stuck, maybe look at SFG Quotes. And if you get stuck there, then you go to your upline and go, hey, I'm kind of stuck on this one. And so that's a couple months in, by the way, for brand new agents. Hey, here's my client qualification form. What do you think? And your upline will slowly start to direct you to resources a little bit. But if you want to take a little bit of the initiative and go in there and dig, there's where you go. Some phenomenal, phenomenal resources. So that is all I have for just some underwriting. We've gone through talking, the script and running through the appointments and all that stuff. I'm going to work a little bit more on the script next week, but I wanted to kind of give you guys actual rubber meets the road, practical. This is, we're field underwriters, and that's a little bit of how you start to do your underwriting. And then you'll call more carriers. You can call Mutual of Omaha, do risk assessment. You can call all these carriers and do risk assessments with them. You can always pick up the phone. That's the longest route, is picking up the phone and calling the carriers, because you might have to sit on hold. If you are going to do that, do it early. Do not call them at lunch. Do not call them at 3 or 4 o'clock. Early in the morning is the key. I had someone text me the other day. I was like, oh, I hate sitting on hold. And they texted me at 4 o'clock. And I was like, you are going to, that's the worst time. So if you have an appointment, and if you can, put it into your schedule and your routine, go, ooh, I need to call this carrier first thing, 8 a.m. Central Time. That needs to be priority number 1, because it will take the least amount of time to do that time during the day, assuming you used up all your other resources. So, all right. Underwriting questions. I want to hear what you guys have. This is always a great time. If you got any questions, or I went too fast on something you want me to circle back around on, this is your opportunity to ask. What do you guys got for me? Man, I did a good job. All right. Oh, hey, come on, Ari. I knew you did something.
I have AM app that's been in underwriting for over 3 weeks. What do you think the best recommendation to go about? So what happened there is they asked the doctor for his medical history, and
Yep.
it's just stuck in limbo
Yeah.
for 3 weeks. Now I'm calling my client. I'm like, don't worry, I'm on it. Trying, to make sure that he knows I didn't drop the ball there, but it's pretty frustrating.
So that's Ari, awesome question. And it is super frustrating. So sometimes what happens when we submit policy to the carriers and we answer the questions as honestly as we can, right? Because it's what the client gives us. They're going to see these MIB codes and this prescription history. And sometimes things just don't line up. They need to see what they call the APS, or the attending physician statements. Where Ari is at in this is he's at the mercy of the doctor's office that they are requesting the statements from. Most doctors' offices take at least a month to send those statements over. I don't know why. I've done this for a long time. It takes about a month. Ari, one of the best things that you can do here is let the client know, going, hey, our carrier, is it American Amicable, Ari?
Yeah,
You go, hey, American Amicable has been requesting these statements from your doctor and he has not sent them. Can you call your doctor and ask him to expedite that?
I did. You know what he told me?
What?
Doctors never answer the phone. He will do it. Don't worry about it. So I'm like, oof, okay, you don't want to move the wheels, make it faster. I'm like, no.
Right. So, Ari, the good news is you've done everything you can. The only thing I would say is, at least on Mondays and Fridays, I would chat with AMAM's new business and just go, hey, any update on that? Because a lot of times they can have them send a new request.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought
Yep.
maybe just to ask him to send a new request. I
But
don't know.
here's what Ari is doing really well. He is staying in touch with his client, keeping him updated, even though there's nothing really. The update is there is no update, right? But
Right.
you're showing that you care. You're being a really good agent. You're staying in communication, going, hey, we're still waiting for your doctor's office, because I don't want them to think it's me, and I sure don't want them to think it's the carrier, because it isn't. It's 100% their doctor. So that's a really good one. But that's, yeah, it is. At least touch base with your client once a week on that. And I would touch base with the carrier twice a week just to see if they can keep poking the doctor's office a little bit to get them, poke the bear.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Just ask him to resend it.
Yep. So, yep. And I mean, Ari, I've been known to call a doctor's office or two myself. I mean, what are they gonna do? And of course, you like the cut to the client's point, like the doc, they never answer. But I've said, hey, I have got a client of mine trying to get their family protected. These have been requested. Is there any chance you can expedite it? So,
That's not a bad idea.
yep. I mean, you kind of wait for the process. I mean, 3 weeks is still not long. Once it hit past a month is when I start getting on the phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I will
That's
give it another week, maybe after Thanksgiving.
Yep. And I think the great thing here, guys, if you ever have to have APS, or attending physician statements, requested, the best thing that you can do for your client is set up proper expectations, going, hey, they're going to request this in the next couple of days. We're going to be at the mercy of your doctor's office. Hey, guys, a lot of times this takes 3 to 4 weeks, but it really depends on how fast your doctor sends the documents. That way, when you're going back to them, you're going, still waiting for your doctor. And that way you are a good agent and they're not thinking bad things about the carrier or you. So good stuff. Zane, what do you got?
You kind of hit it on the head for me. I mean, I didn't know about the AMM risk assessment, so that was really cool to learn about. And really, all I want to know is like when I'm getting their health questions, when I'm setting the appointment, and I'm going through virtual mentor, are you guys like breaking down each medication and writing it down?
I'm breaking down what it's for, right?
Okay.
So I ask, hey, any medical problems or health issues I need to be made aware of, such as cancer, stroke, diabetes, and they go, no, nothing like that. Okay. I say, well, anything not like that, anything, maybe high blood pressure, anxiety, cholesterol. I'm looking for anything. Like, oh yeah, I have some of this. Okay, I have a little bit of anxiety. I said, okay, how many medications do you take for that? Oh, I take 2. All right. Is that severe or just kind of situational anxiety? I don't really care what the medication is. I know a lot of people are really more detailed than me. They write down the name of the medication, things. I want to know what it's for. The name of the medication isn't going to help us a super ton initially. Down the road, it can. But initially, I just want to know, hey, what are you taking those medications for?
Yep, makes sense.
Yep. Because if they're taking 5 meds for cancer, it doesn't matter. They have cancer, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't, and I don't really need to know the names of their cancer medications. I mean, does that kind of make sense? But there are times, Zane, where someone is, taking a medication that can be for like three diseases. And I'm going to do something crazy. This is not real, but like it could be for Alzheimer's, heartburn, or arthritis. That's not an actual real example, right? But Well, Alzheimer's is a very, very big deal. Arthritis or heartburn is not at all, and arthritis really isn't. But it's the same medication for all three. So a lot of times what will happen is, it's good to write down what they have, and then they're going to go, hey, there's a medication that, is being flagged. Well, then we need to let the carrier know what that medication is for specifically. That's kind of rare, but it does happen.
Because I have an appointment standing right now, and it's with this guy named Mr. Conley, and he has 2 high blood pressure medications. And he's like, well, we can hop on the next call when I get the medications from my doctor. And I was like, well, those aren't necessarily necessary.
Yep. Yep. Don't need them. But he's taking them, right? He's consistently on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't need to know the name of them.
Okay, cool.
And high blood pressure, if it's 2 or less, it's not a big deal. You go over 3 high blood pressure medications, you got to go Mutual of Omaha specific product. But yeah, it's kind of like 2 high pressure, 2 high blood pressure medications. Hey, is your blood pressure well controlled? Yes, good. That's not a problem. Cholesterol. None of our carriers care about cholesterol at all, ever. You're going to get, I take a cholesterol medication. They get really nervous, and I'm like, no carrier cares. It's not in any underwriting guide anywhere. But hey, great, write it down. All right, hey, they told me I want to tell them I want them to know that I care about everything. But you'll learn that slowly. But yeah, when he goes, I don't know the names of the medication, don't need them. When your posture is that way, then you'll be able to move right past it. When you're unsure, he's like, I gotta get the name of these meds. So
yeah, okay, sounds good.
Yep. And you can just tell them, hey, I did a little bit of research. I actually reached out to some carriers and some of my business partners. I actually don't need the names of those medications. I can definitely help you out.
Okay, yeah.
Good stuff.
Makes me excited.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Good stuff. All right, what else we got? All right. Then let me do this.